Hello Delphi developers from all over the globe. Today I would like to show you how you can integrate Gemini AI into your Delphi application to solve tasks that were previously unsolvable with algorithms. Gemini AI is an LLM, a large language model from Google that allows you to use natural language as a human-machine interface. The ability to process natural language enables a wide range of applications, especially in the area of business applications. But first, I would like to introduce myself to anyone who doesn't know me yet. I have been a Delphi developer for many years, and like many others, I started with Turbo Pascal. I live and work in Switzerland, where the Pascal language also has its origins. With my own engineering and consulting company Schneider Infosystems, I realized many successful projects with Delphi in the last 25 years. And besides developing of my own commercial products, I wrote the open source library FB4D. What I'm showing today, I will start with an introduction to Gemini AI and my open source library FB4D. Next I will show you how to get started with Gemini AI. Then I will show you the first steps in the demo FB4D app to create texts. In the next step, we will automatically interpret images and documents and output the results in a structured way. But I also want to point out typical problems with LLMs, and I show what hallucinations are. Next, I will show a use case for a business application where I interpret PDFs in order to be able to process the data in a structured form. Then it goes into the code, how to build the whole thing and what the necessary interfaces of FB4D look like. Finally, there is a summary and an outlook. Let's start with the introduction into Gemini AI, which is a large language model comparable to ChatGPT, Llama or Anthropic Claude. Gemini AI is a Google DeepMind project. Google is still working hard on changing the API and the models. The interface of Gemini AI is now available in version 1, but not all functionality is already included, which is why I still recommend using the older version 1 beta. Gemini AI was quickly integrated into Firebase documentation and helps with writing code, for example for writing security rules, indexes and further. As today, I don't expect Gemini AI will be ever offered as a standalone service in Firebase services. This is because Gemini AI is already offered indirectly via the Vertex AI platform in Firebase. The integration of the predecessor MLKit was also not solved ideally. Access for users could never be restricted via Firebase authentication, but only the Firebase project API key was shared between MLKit and the other Firebase services. I don't want to hide the fact that I would like to see a better integration of AI services in Firebase, which would be based on a Firebase authentication and would allow me to use usage quotas for individual Firebase users. This functionality has to build today with a Firebase Cloud function, which unfortunately is not that easy. I cannot explain in this session how an LLM works in detail, but I can show you what this LLM can do and give you hints about what is possible with it. Important to know is that training data is not public and is Google's trade secret. The data sources for the training data come from the internet: Wikipedia, books, scientific articles, websites, online newspapers, Stack Overflow, Git repos for programming, and furthermore is used by Google. Newer, better and also larger models are constantly available. With ChatGPT 3, the training volume was still several hundred billions of tokens, which corresponds to approximately 600 gigabytes of text. The model sizes are getting bigger and bigger and are taking on extreme dimensions. And DeepMind is known for its huge models. All LLM do not usually search the internet when querying, so knowledge of the cutoff date of model creation is limited. But Gemini AI now offers just that in the beta version with an integrated search tool. Unfortunately, this feature is not yet available in the stable version 1. But I expect this will be changed soon. Unlike ChatGPT, the Gemini AI model cannot be trained with your own data. But, and this is where it gets complicated, you can upload your own structured datasets to fine-tune the Gemini 1 Pro model, but this is not generally available for all models. So my wrapper library does not offer this feature yet. And this point can be completely different in just 1 month. In any case, I'm staying on the top of this issue. So, let's go to introduction in FB4D. By the way, FB4D stands for Firebase for Delphi. The project is hosted on GitHub. Give it a star if you like the project. Writing code for an open source library is not enough. It also needs to be well documented. I have invested a lot of time in the wiki. Please read it before asking questions in the discussion forum. But there is a discussion forum, and if you have serious questions, I take time to answer your questions. And there are 7 sample projects in this project, which you can show how FB4D is working. The lib can also be installed via Gedit, but the status there is usually outdated, as Gedit does not yet allow automatic updates from GitHub. In version 1.7, Gemini AI is now included. Mostly, we start in an application with the Firebase user authentication. Then we have 2 NoSQL databases. The first one, the real-time database, stores a large JSON object, while the newer Firestore database contains a collection of documents, where each document contains a JSON tree with predefined data types. The storage can be used to write files into the cloud and read files from the cloud. With Cloud Function, we can write server-side functions written in JavaScript or TypeScript. FB4D allows you to call such functions and hand over the parameters and wait for the results. ML Vision was the first generation of machine learning for image recognition. With Gemini AI, we have a newer version of image recognitions combined with NLP, with natural language processing. FB4D is a pure source code library. You don't need to install any packages. It is based on the REST API and gRPC API. It is a cross-platform library for using with VCL and FireMonkey framework. It supports Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, and iOS. All what we have with Delphi. There are class interfaces for all services, and these are accessible via a central class factory if you like. It provides for all service functions two methods. The first one is a blocking variant, asynchronous methods for using in thread and services. The second one are non-blocking asynchronous methods with its callbacks for using in the main thread of a GUI application. Thanks to fluent design of the interfaces, the code is shorter and more readable. Let's start. After cloning the GitHub repo, we see this folder and files. In the source folder there are 70 Pascal units and 3 include files. The most important file is the interface file. The sample folder, we open the project group FB4D sample for FireMonkey sample application. Today we check the first application in this group, the demo FB4D, which demonstrates the entire functionality of FB4D in one desktop application. Here I show you the interface unit, which contains interface classes, enumerations and records used for Gemini AI. I will explain the detail later. The unit Gemini AI contains the implementation of these interfaces. The main class is named Gemini AI and contains all the methods you need. The frame Gemini AI contains the entire functionality to demonstrate Gemini AI functionality. Now let's start the application. We don't need to enter the Firebase project ID and the Web API key because Gemini AI is not yet fully integrated in Firebase. A click on the logo opens the wiki page in a separate browser, and it depends on which tab you was before. I have written many applications in my life, but this is my first application that allows you to ask questions in a natural language and whose answers are not predetermined by someone else. Let's see what the LLM answers to the question why we need to know Gemini AI. The result is displaying in a web browser, but originally the web server responses with Markdown format. On the tab Metadata, we see the usage and the number of tokens that has an effect on the cost. In the last tab, we see the original JSON object retrieved from the web service. But before you can ask such a question in the demo app, I have to go a little further and introduce Gemini AI and the AI Studio on the web. To open the AI Studio in your browser, simply click on the provided link in the demo app. Get an API key in the AI Studio and copy the key into the edit field in the demo app. Unfortunately, you need a credit card to get started, but the costs for development work are marginal. I have spent for the entire development of the FB4D wrapper interface less than $1 on tokens so far. In the AI Studio, we can also take our first steps with text-based questions and learn how to ask them. This discipline is called prompt design. You can also get to know the current models here. Flash models are simpler on robust models. Pro models, on the other hand, are designed for more complex questions. I will explain the model parameters later in the AI Studio. You can play with the current parameters and examine what effects the select parameters have on the responses. Gemini AI already supports many natural languages. We can easily start the question in one language and continue the second sentence in another language. However, the system usually responds in the language in which we ask the question. Let's go back into demo application in order to generate text and interpret images and documents. What can we do with this text generation functionality? Here I list possible applications in apps. We can correct and improve texts. The review can do much more than just intelligent grammar and spelling correction. But we can also allow writing text based on keywords. We can translate texts, of course, and we can abbreviating and summarizing texts out of documents. And we can interpret text, extracting structured information from longer texts or from longer documents. This example shows how to write a mail just using a few keywords. Such a function in a business application can speed up processes for the user. The text quality is good. The model has also selected only content that is relevant to the letter. For example, the customer's company name is not included in the mail because it makes no sense. Now I would like to give you some tips on how best to ask the questions. Give the system clear and precise instructions. If possible, delimit the questions by specifying restrictions. With text generation, we can not only create natural language, but also formatted texts for HTML, XML, or JSON are possible. It is also often useful if we provide some context for the task. In which environment do I ask this question? It can also be helpful to include an example answer in the question. For longer and more complicated questions, where the last answer of the system are important to understand the new and next question, we send the entire chat history. Otherwise, the model will not remember the answer it has already sent to me. I will now demonstrate the output in various text-based formats and give ideas what possible is. First, an example to show the possibility to generate scalable vector graphics. And now, I need some test data for writing a unit test. I need some addresses. But I need it in JSON format. Therefore, I sent the second request in chat mode where the answer to the first question as well the initial question is sent to the web server again. Next, I will show you how we can configure the model. In the fold-out part of Gemini configuration, below the API key, you can define your own values for the model parameters, which are used in the next request. The maximum number of output tokens define the length of the text that the system is allowed to create. This also controls the cost of the next question. What exactly is a token? Well, this is, as I know, not exactly defined, but a token corresponds approximately to a word or a punctuation mark. The next parameter is the temperature of the generated text. The higher it is, the more random, creative, and versatility the response. But be aware, a high creativity goes hand in hand with a high unpredictability. The next two parameters, top P and top key, also influences the predictability of the answer. Play with this parameter and see which one provides the best answer to your questions. Gemini AI attaches a great importance to safe and secure responses and also give us settings options here to keep various threats under control. More categories have been defined yet, but these are not yet being processed. With the level we indicate for each category whether this hazard is important in our application. By entering stop words, we can prevent that the model generates these words. For example, we can prevent the model from talking to our customer in a chat about the competitor's products or even promoting it. On the other hand, this function stops the output immediately when a such word is generated. This is particularly a problem for formatted outputs. I hope this function will be improved in the future. As already mentioned, there is an exciting extension option to enable Gemini AI to use Google search during the query and incorporate the results of the search into the answer. Unfortunately, this is currently only possible for the API version 1 beta and not yet for the stable version 1. This function is now brand new and has only been available in Europe and Switzerland since the beginning of January this year. And what I did not expect, this function is not available for all models. Gemini 1.5 Pro allows you to use this feature. To check if it works, you can just query the current time and date. In this example, I ask for the current weather at my location. As mentioned, Gemini AI allows you to ask a question about one or more images or processed documents. It can be used to read information from images and processes in a structured way, or find information in documents, read it out and process it in a structured way. As next, I would like to show you how far the general knowledge of this LLM goes. For this purpose, I show a picture of vehicles and want to know the name of the car. Yes, as far as I know, it's a Corvette Chevrolet. And this is a modern electric SUV from South Korea. This answer is correct, it's a Peugeot. Now I'm showing an older model. Yes, this is correct. The model knows a lot about cars. Let's change to a more difficult task, recognizing cockpits from passenger aircraft. Yes, this is an Airbus. Would you have recognized it? I made more tests also with sailing yachts. and I have seen the system knows a lot. Yes, here we have a Boeing 737. What does Gemini know about Greek history? This is a photo from my last summer vacation. As far as I can read, everything is correct. Really amazing, and I didn't include any geodata in the picture. Here is another photo of the East Coast in the United States. I didn't know all these details when I took this photo, but as far as I know, the answer is correct. Okay, now I want to show you how to read and interpret documents. This is a document from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. If someone is writing a thesis or a dissertation, they must complete this form. What is the purpose of this document, I ask. Today he has to explain in detail whether and how he used artificial intelligence when writing his paper. As you can see, even in research, working with AI is becoming easier, but there are problems when it comes to evaluation. Okay, I didn't want to know this, but I also asked the wrong question. Let's formulate that again. Correct. But of course, this topic is exciting, but not worthy of a dissertation. Now I want to know what decision I made concerning the initial question. It only recognizes my choice by the small dot inside the circle in front of the text in the question. Can the LLM also explain to me what the differences are in the choice of the options? At first glance, the answer looks similar to me. Yes, it seems that AI understands the text and can extract the meaning correctly. This is an impressive performance, which I wouldn't have expected. It is a good example of what is possible today. Now I also have to talk about the problematic aspect of LLM. Not everything what the system delivers is always correct. This effect is called hallucination. Hallucinations seem plausible, but are completely invented by the system itself. These problems affect all LLM systems, and our problem is that these errors are hardly automatically recognizable. The good thing is that this problem has been recognized and it's currently being intensively researched. It is to be expected that the systems will improve in the future. I have already noticed this during my development. However, I assume that this problem will continue to occupy us in one form or another in the future. We can only try to avoid certain questions. For example, questions about daily news or also internet links are often wrong. Now I want to show you this by an example. I ask what he knows about FB4D. And the result is absolute rubbish. When I asked this question the first time, he mentioned that FB4D stands for Firebird for Delphi. And he was talked about SQL. It doesn't get better with changed model parameters. I have also made many queries about myself and my company and had exactly the same problem at the beginning. With the latest models, it reacts correctly to people and companies. I don't have enough information, please search with Google. A lot has already happened between the start of my research in May and today. Gemini 1.5 is much better in this respect, but he still doesn't know FB4D. And here you see also this link is completely made up. As next, I would like to present the use case for a business application. In a customer relationship management application, there is a desire to automatically read in PDFs and interpret the content. As a result, the invoice details are to be recorded in a JSON object, which can later be saved in the database. Everyone agrees with me that the task marked in red is by far the most difficult. We will now solve this in few minutes with AI and in a quality that was previously unattainable. Read my prompt first that asks for a JSON object. I'm now loading the first PDF of an invoice. This is an invoice from my company of a fictitious customer, Mr. James Bob from Canada. In this scenario, I charge software consulting services and expenses for the integration of my open source library in a customer CRM. Okay, here comes the result. Let's check the details. First, we have this reason of payment. Okay, this is correct. This is written in the description. Secondly, we check the amount. The amount is in Swiss francs. Correct. The tax rate and the tax amount, both are correct. Now we go to the sender name and address and the receiver name and address. Everything is fine. As next, we want to check the IBAN number. You see, he has found the IBAN number, the European interbanking number for the unique identification of a bank account. But there is nothing written about an IBAN in the payment part. The AI therefore knows the format and the typical use of this number. Now we check the invoice number. Correct. And the payment date. Okay, we go to the next invoice. Let's load a real invoice. This is a real invoice from my company, from Embarcadero from 2015 for the annual maintenance. Let me ask Gemini AI again with the same prompt, because I want to be able to use it in the later product for all invoices. Here we have a new JSON object received. Let's check the reason of payment. Yes, that's correct. It's a renewal on the maintenance of a user, named user license. And the amount is correct. And we are in euros. Currency is euro. There is no tax, because this is export. Then, where is the sender name and address? In the header there is no sender name, but here in the bank details, we have at least the bank information. And he takes that because he misses the sender name and address as this. Receiver address and the ship to address, he takes the receiver address correctly. So let's check the IBAN number. It seems to be correct. Oh, we could also need the SWIFT code for addressing the invoice properly. Let's do again. I have added the SWIFT code as a new field in the JSON object, and now let's check. We have here the SWIFT code properly. And we have the account number, the bank account number. What's about the invoice number? The invoice number, where is the invoice number? Ah, the invoice number is in the title. But it is correct. We have seen the client number already. And what's about the date of payment? There is no date of payment mentioned. Probably because I have paid by credit card. So the only date we have is the date here, and it takes this date as date of payment. Okay, let's go a step further. That's a handwritten invoice. That's really not nice handwriting. But I would like to use this to check that AI still delivers something useful even with problematic invoices. Okay, let's ask what we get from this invoice. Okay. First of all, the reason of payment. Here it's written window glass A15, okay, P75 is not well, but my handwriting is not well. But the total amount is correct. Then the currency is correct, the tax is correct, the tax rate is correct. Now we check the sender name and address. Sea-Glass Corporation, woodworking, carpentry. Here the first W is small caption, but this is not a big issue. What's about the bank account number? It's a US bank account number. It seems to be correct and well formatted. The SWIFT code? Correct. The due date is the same as the date of payment, correct? And we don't have an invoice number and then the client number in this handwritten invoice. In the demo app, I described the JSON object in a natural language in the prompt, and that already worked well. But we can make the prompt even more secure for their integration in an application. Now, I would like to show a better option that is currently not implemented in the demo application. That's why I'm showing my unit tests now. Here, I open the same PDF as before I've shown in the demo. And secondly, I build a request based on a JSON scheme with predefined fields of certain types. After getting the answer, I use this JSON object and extract the content. And in the unit test, I test everything. So let's run. There are 5 unit test methods in this Gemini AI unit test, but we start this test PDF interpretation as JSON object. Here you see the resulting object. It's exactly what we have defined in the scheme. And everything is passed. Because we are already in the unit test, I will also show you a second unit test method that generates JSON object, as this is a slightly safer way to check test responses. Here I have 2 simple mathematical formulas. The first one is correct, the second one is wrong, and this should be detected in the AI. Here I set up a JSON object for a better test. And here I can test the fields, what I expect as outcome. And here we have the second formula with obviously wrong. It's not 2A, it's A and B. And let's start the test. What is the outcome of this test? It's test JSON object creation. Let it start. And here we see the resulting JSON object of both tests. The first one, first factor is A, is formula correct, is true, number of factors 2, resulting term A power 2. Second factor A, absolutely correct. We have already seen some code in the unit test, but now I would like to explain the most important interface classes. I begin with the central interface to control the Gemini AI. The first method, generate content by prompt, can be used for the simplest text-based requests. As a result, I get an interface of Gemini AI response, which I will show on the next slide. To keep this slide simple, I have only shown the symmetrical methods. The asymmetrical methods is a procedure with a parameter for a callback method instead of a function. The second method, generate content by request, requires an Gemini AI request interface, which offers more possibility. We will see this on the next slide when I explain that interface. And the 2 count methods allows to check what a question of the AI costs. To know the cost of the answer, I need first start Gemini AI, but I can limit the maximum tokens that will be generated. This interface contains all the information that I received from the AI in response to a question. Gemini AI returns a markdown formatted text. If I had a component in the FireMonkey framework that could display markdown, that would have been easy. Now I convert Markdown to HTML and have integrated the open source library from the Australian developer Graham Grieve as a submodule in FB4D. If you don't want this solution, you can have the corresponding code removed with a conditional compiling. The function result as JSON only makes sense in those cases where I also supply a JSON scheme to the request. We saw this in the unit test already. And as you can see, there are many more methods of accessing details of the result that I won't go in detail here. Please read the wiki. Let's move on to the interface with which we can make more complex requests. With the prompt function, we can again make a simple text request, which, thanks to Fluent Design, can later be supplemented with model parameters and more. The method prompt with media data allows to take over a media stream together with a prompt. Media streams can be images, PDF, but also video and audio files. The method prompt with image data is only available when using the FireMonkey framework, because VCL does not offer yet the extract of the meme type from an image stream. Here we can set the model parameters and the safety settings. And with this method, we can build a chat with multiple queries and answers from the model. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I would like to mention a few more important points. The costs are moderate. I paid less than $1 for the entire development of Gemini AI interface wrapper. Hallucinations are and will remain a problem for a while that we must avoid as much as possible. But I already see significant progress in this topic. In my opinion, the present FB4D Gemini AI solution is ideally suited to build an in-house solution or to make requests within a server application. By the way, it is also possible to build a console application with it. If you build a desktop or a mobile application with it, the problem is that the API key can be stolen, unless you do it like in Red Studio and let the customer enter their own key. Otherwise, a solution via cloud function that encapsulates access to Gemini AI would be ideal. And last but not least, there are certainly data protection concerns that we have to take into account. In my view, even better legal regulations are needed here, so that we can also build sensitive applications with them. Finally, let me mention a few words as the open source developer of this library. If you like the library, give it a star in the GitHub repo to increase the visibility. If you can use the library in a commercial project, I strongly recommend that you think about the sponsoring. Then you will ensure the further development of this library. Since all Google Web Server interfaces are changing and evolving, this helps you to secure your own development investment. I hope you enjoyed this session and thank you for your attention.